Hey, hi. Now let's discuss the um, uh, abstract factory design pattern. I am from IUIT Solutions. I am MS trainer. Uh, so now let's start discussion on this. Okay. So as I said in my previous lectures, that what is a design pattern and what are the uses of this. So this abstract factory design pattern is the can say it is one of the creational design pattern of the Gang of Four. As I said previously, that Gang of Four has around 24 design patterns. So these are divided in three parts. That one of the part is the creational design patterns, and creational is divided in further in other parts, and one of them is the abstract factory design pattern. Okay. So let's move to the next slide. So, what is the abstract factory? As I said, that abstract factory is one of creational design pattern gang of four design patterns. So, when we talk about abstract, it does mean that there is abstract class or interface. Okay, and factory does mean you have something to create in bulk that can be of similar nature and common theme. Okay. So we can say abstract factory equals to abstract plus factory. Okay. Abstract does mean you have abstract class or interface. So factory you have something in similar nature. So we are using the abstract class or interfaces to create the objects of similar nature, I mean of the same family, without specifying their concrete classes. So we can derive one definition from this. Abstract factory provides interface or abstract classes to create families of related or dependent objects without specifying their concrete classes. So we know that if we talk about the pure abstract or the interface, we cannot define the implementation in them. So we will use mm, their their subclasses, okay, child classes. So where you use this abstract factory, this abstract factory is the GUI component factory, we can say, which creates UI controls for different Windows systems such as Windows, Motif or macOS. So in this lecture I will explain you where we are using the abstract factory in the .NET framework. Okay. So let us move to the next slide. That is a UML diagram of the abstract factory. So it is UML diagram. You see that it is the abstract factory. It is a concrete factory. It is the abstract product A, abstract product B, and client. So this abstract factory has some methods or operations that will be implemented by their concrete classes. Okay, these are concrete classes. But what will be the nature of these products? It will be the abstract product A1, product A2, and abstract product B, product B1, and product B2. Okay. So this abstract factory is not creating anything. It is giving the responsibility to create everything to the concrete factory. Okay. So abstract factory, it declares an interface that has operations to create abstract products. So as I said, that abstract factory, it has some operations that will be used that we are using to have the operations that will be implemented by their concrete classes. So concrete factory, it has abstract factory implemented operations to create concrete products objects. Okay. So next is the abstract product. So it declares an interface for a type of product object, and this abstract product will be inherited by this product class. So this product, it is an actual product object that will be created by corresponding factory implementing abstract product interface. So this is the object product A1, product A2 that will be created by the concrete factory classes. Similarly, product B1 and product B2 that will be created by the concrete factory classes. So now, what is this client? It uses interface declared by abstract factory and abstract product classes, which I will explain you in the next slide. Okay. So I can say objects can be created directly using constructors. Listen. Objects can be created directly using constructor instead of using another class. So what extra we are getting using the abstract factory? But it has following reasons to create objects this way. Suppose if you want to do some caching and sharing and reusability aspects, so the constructor will be called, I can say one time, that will side. Okay. So this abstract factory has some methods that are used or that can be used to caching, etc. Number two, sometimes client doesn't know exactly what type to create. Client doesn't know what type of object to create, what type of classes to use. Okay. So it is better to code against base class or interface to create objects and let a factory make this decision for the client. How the factory will know? Based on the context parameters, the parameters which you will pass. Okay. So number third is, suppose if you have various constructors, so it may make it hard for you to decide which constructor to use for which purpose. So if we define the name to each constructor, it will be easier for us to create objects of that type. Okay. In this example, public vehicle interior passengers. Okay. Suppose user wants to create the object of the car, so he will use create car and will pass the number of passengers. Similarly, create SUV, create truck, create boat, create bike, etc. So if you have more constructors, then it may be hard to decide, to remember which constructor to use for which purpose. So it is better to use named methods. Okay. So guys, it is our example of the abstract factory pattern. Okay. So it is just the console application. So we have this computer factory that has the operations that will be implemented by its concrete classes. Okay, IBM computers is concrete factory and computer world is the client, I can say. Similarly, it has Dell computers. Okay, so if we have one requirement that we need to create one factory that will create the objects of the IBM or the Dell computers. So IBM can make the flat desktop or cabinet desktop. Dell computers can make the flat desktop and cabinet desktop. Okay. So abstract factory, this computer factory has two abstract methods: create flat desktop and create cabinet desktop. And the object types, its written object type is the abstract class. Okay. Then this computer factory will be inherited by the IBM computers. I mean, this is just an example. So I am implementing this public override desktop, create flat desktop. Okay, they are written new flat desktop. So this flat desktop is the actual product object, actual product type that is being created. Similarly, create cabinet desktop, it is creating. Similarly, Dell computers create flat desktop and create cabinet desktop. So now you see that in this abstract factory, we are not using anywhere the constructor. I mean, we are obviously we use the constructor to create the objects, but we are not using them directly. Okay, it is our product base class, abstract class product. It has one method assemble. So this desktop class is the being inherited from two classes, flat desktop and cabinet desktop. Okay, so it is our computer world class, that is a client class. Okay, so we have this computer world constructor of this, we are passing computer factory in this, and it is creating the desktop of the type which you wants to create, and finally it is being shipped. Okay, so we see in this that abstract factory was our computer factory class. This concrete factory was the IBM computers and Dell computers. Okay, so create product A and create product B are create flat desktop, and there is one more method. Abstract product A is the create flat desktop. Okay, it is create. Abstract product B is the create cabinet desktop, and our client is the computer world. Okay, that client is responsible for creating the objects. So as I said that client, it uses interfaces declared by abstract factory and abstract product classes. So our computer world is doing that. It is using the abstract factory and abstract product classes to create the objects of the type which you want to create. Okay, so I think it is clear now for you. So where we use the abstract factory in the .NET framework. So I can say when Microsoft talks about abstract factories, they mean types that expose factory methods. That factory methods are virtual or abstract instance functions that return abstract class of interface. Obviously, name indicates that you are returning something abstract. What is abstract? Abstract, it can be abstract class or interface. So where does it fit in the .NET framework? It is the DB provided factory and DB provider factories. Okay, so this DB provided factories is a factory of factories. It manufactures different factories, one for each provider. So this DB provider factories is creating the factory of one provider, and similarly the factory for another provider. So we know that there are the various providers like SQL, OLEDB, Oracle. So when we talk about the SQL server, then this DB provider factory is SQL client connection, SQL client command, SQL client data adapter. It is creating them. Okay, so I can say the naming convention is that append the bird factory at the end of class of which objects are being created. Okay, suppose as we see in our example that we put the computer factory because we were creating the different computers. Okay, so now it was all about the abstract factory design pattern. So it is end now. So if still you have the doubt in this session, then you can connect me at my email ID or my contact number. Thank you. Bye.